guess on this issue, I think this is one issue, and I've heard from a lot of members of the community, including people out in the audience tonight. I think we need to give people an indication now. Summer's almost here, the school year is almost over. I think people need to have some kind of plan in their head as to what am I going to do if this override doesn't pass.
And we can set up, work with, we do have afternoon daycare, I mean, that's through the Y. And so we could talk about expanding that opportunity as well.
How do the teachers feel about blocking their prep time to a 2-hour block on one day a week? How effective is that?
Oh, no, it won't be, because they will have on other days, 3 out of the 5 days, when there will be a specialist.
Mhm.
You're not eliminating all of them.
Right.
But you won't be able to provide it every day, and that's what the contract says that you should do.
Well, when the students go home right after lunch, the teachers will stay,
Correct,
and that's
on
their,
that day.
their prep time.
And that makes up for what you've taken away.
Right. But have we asked the staff, how do they feel about blocking their prep time as opposed to having so much prep time each day to have it lumped onto a Wednesday afternoon?
They will have prep time, let's say Monday, Tuesday,
Right.
and Thursday. Where the problem will be on those 2 other days of where the prep time is achieved. 4 years ago, when we went into this, the reduction is not the level that we were talking about, we agreed to allow classroom teachers to take their children to the library and leave them in the library
Right.
with a paraprofessional, and count that as instructional time, and the teacher took that time as prep time. Now, first of all, that really shouldn't be counted as instructional time because it's not time of
It's not.
learning, it's not with a teacher. And secondly, you're closing this time, the libraries twice a week, and you're closing the computer lab twice a week. So you've got all of these things conspiring in terms of how are you going to make the schedule work. And we're coming up against time here to say, should the principals start planning now for multiple levels? I expect that there will be, again, negotiations that will have to take place because this is impact bargaining with the staff, which is why my recommendation is make it as direct, let people know now, so that you can start making plans.
What about professional development, which typically takes place on Wednesday? Will that take place on a different day?
That's not going to happen.
But by law, you have to provide professional development.
That is not going to happen.
Why wouldn't you just place it on a different day? We haven't cut professional
Well,
development out of the budget.
No, there's professional development, which occurs after school, and then there's the early release, the traditional
Yeah,
early release
traditional.
days. I'm not prepared to add even more early release days. Right now, we have 10 Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of each month.
Right.
And that's used for, across the district, professional development. That, we will have to come up with that's not going to happen. Where we will have problems will be on the other early release days for conference days, which can also run into those Wednesdays. So we'll have to manipulate that schedule so that there will be early release days for conferences at the elementary and middle school level.
And can we afford to drop the professional development program?
Wouldn't we get in trouble with the state?
What is there in this?
There's a lot that we're
No,
gonna
I mean, we're
follow.
not, that's not, we didn't cut the professional development program as a cost-saving measure.
Well, actually, we have, because if you look at the budget, we haven't, go back and look at Pam's budget in terms of professional development, we cut it. That's all on the expense side.
Do you have to report to the DOE that you've spent so much per pupil in professional development?
I do, but we won't be able to report that. I don't, I mean, I have not even planned, I've just taken that off the table, and consider, we're here on a tough choices or tough times, and I've made the choice that, given the limitations, this is the best that I can do with scheduling instructional time. We're right at that fundamental level here.
David, on the day off, why the middle of the week versus, say, an end of the week, a Friday? Would that make sense to do it on a Friday, so the weekends and?
I think that will, again, it's the reason why we don't normally put the release day on the weekends, that it will create, I believe, an attendance
Reduce
problem,
attendance,
that more
okay.
parents will
Same thing on a
likely
Monday,
to
right?
say,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
let's make this a long weekend.
Right.
So it's, number one, reducing department heads is a chance that NEAS will have something to say about it. And if we reduce our professional development, then we'll get some kind of letter from the DOE about not meeting those requirements.
Right.
The mentor program, oh yeah, that's a state requirement as well.
The number 4 on the high school is perhaps a little more difficult to understand, but the more Mr. Bernard and I sit down and Mr. Mark and start thinking about, well, let me finish off with the middle school, that's number 3. In this reduction, we will reduce the general arts program in the middle school. So the general arts program, aside from being vital for curriculum, which is the clear purpose, it also provides the counter time for the other teachers to get their prep time in, and vice versa. So we'll reduce music, art, and technology by 1/3 in the middle school. We will completely eliminate the international cultures, which is 1/4 of that total rotation, and we will reduce 50% of the physical education. So physical education is not part of the general rotation, it's an additional 2 periods a week. And we've been trying to build a health, we're not even talking the health program because we're not being able to hire that health teacher. So when you start to lay out what that schedule would look like, you quickly see that you're not going to have teachers available to teach kids, which again leads to the fact that my recommendation would be send the students home 1 day a week in the afternoon. I'm very troubled by that, as I am with the elementary level, for a whole host of reasons. One, it's reducing the instructional time. Secondly, I think middle school youngsters need a very structured day. And if we had concerns about what was happening throughout the community, particularly in the library and other places, on the 10 early release days, it's hard to contemplate how we would provide control on, on a weekly basis. So I'm very concerned about that. My hope is that, the parents and others come forward with creative ideas on how to provide special programs for middle school youngsters. That's number 3. Number 4 in the high school, we were looking at the override budget for an additional high school teacher. That's not going to happen. So, as it won't happen in the middle school, so we're going to see higher class sizes. I've already gone over that in detail. But in a failed override, you are pulling out 1 physical education teacher. And again, I can hear people saying, well, that's just 1 physical education teacher. Well, it probably will mean that the elective physical education course, that about 150, right now, 150 students are electing physical education in the 11th and 12th grade. It's a requirement in grade 9 and 10. but it's an elective in 11 and 12. So those 150 students are now put back into the schedule pool to be somewhere. And when you start impacting on already class sizes in the elective areas, you can see how that's going to drive that up. So you have two forces coming together here. One, you're not hiring that additional teacher, and secondly, you're taking one away. All right? And so the net result will be tremendous pressure on the elective courses. So Mr. Bernard and I have talked about it, and my recommendation, and we can certainly discuss it in more detail, would be to ease up on the requirement to take 8 classes over the 2-day cycle. Because the only way around that would be to allow class sizes routinely in many, many electives. And electives are art, music, business, technology classes, to be in that 35 range.
Most of them are already 30
Well,
or over.
there are many that are in that 30 range.
Right.
So-
I have a choice though. If
Pardon?
you stop and think about how much time we have at the high school right now, we only have about, what is it?
So 1,025.
35 hours above the legal minimum.
Right,
You divide that across a year and you've got 11 minutes a day.
right.
That's all you can take off of the day. If you tell a child he doesn't have to take the eighth course, and you're not gonna reduce any class period length to 11 minutes a day, so, I mean, you would no longer be complying with the law on minimum number of hours.
Well, I know that.
I think we have to let the class sizes rise.
Well, again, I'm coming up against what the law says, but I'm also coming up against the fact that do we sacrifice going against what the law says as opposed to putting students in classes that are so enormous that instruction really isn't happening? And I just have a hard time reconciling that Andover High School was in this problem about 3 years ago. And what ended up happening there was that they were reported, and the Department of Ed came in and said that you must have this. And they went then back to the town and said, here's where we are. And in the middle of the year, they added additional, or in the early fall, they added additional teachers. And they were pushed into that position because the Department of Ed said you couldn't reconcile it. Now, again, I can say to Mr. Bernard that go ahead and schedule the class, all electives, for whatever any student wants to get, but the number of conflicts in that scheduling process will dramatically rise.
Yep.
And if you are willing, as a committee, to endorse, I've said right now, hold it at 30. Don't allow the class size to go over 30, which is a contracted issue to begin with. But if we're going to allow it to go over on a routine basis, then I think that, one, we're going to be forced into a bargain on that. And secondly, we need to go on record saying that it's better to offer these classes with mid-30s and maintain the instruction.
Well, think through some of the other ramifications of this. We're talking about reducing the number of courses required in the freshman year, where there are virtually no electives right now. Basically, a freshman has one elective, so you're taking it away. And it's not much better in the sophomore year. I think they have 2 electives, cutting it in half. But more importantly, because they don't have many electives, they're still primarily in core courses, you're not getting the savings on the enrollment that you would if you were dealing with a grade that they had 4 electives. You're still going to have to maintain the number of